Hi there, folks. This is something that I've waffled on and off doing for a long time. You'll notice I am in FL Studio. This is FL Studio 9.0 XXL. This is technically still like a Windows XP version of FL Studio, but it's been expanded for 64-bit memory. I think current versions of FL Studio are up to like version 20 now. But I'm comfortable in FL Studio 9, so that's the one I've been using. I've been meaning to upgrade to a newer version of FL Studio for a long time, but I like 9.0. It works for me. It's really not that important for what I do with this software. Anyway, why we're in FL Studio is because I guess this is going to go up on the music channel. If you know, I sometimes put out MP3s of like MIDI files that I find on the internet, and I think I make them sound pretty nice. I don't make them sound like MIDIs anymore. And I've been doing this since like 2005, back when Sinasu started, like, because where it really started was with something called the Yamaha Software XG synthesizer. It came with Final Fantasy VII, or you could just buy it separately. It made your MIDI sound really nice. I thought that they sounded so nice that, like, I was trying to figure out a way to record these really nice Yamaha enhanced MIDIs to an MP3 file. And Sinasu was like, check out FL Studio. And back then it was just called Fruity Loops, right? FL Fruity Loops. And the rest was kind of history. Like, he sent me some sound fonts to use and taught me the basics of, like, applying filters and effects and plugins and things like that. And it was kind of just off to the races from there. We used to, like, take turns remastering different MIDIs that either I found or he found, and we'd make them sound really nice and see, kind of compare notes and see who sounded better. And lately, now here in 2026, there has been a rash of channels on YouTube that are using artificial intelligence to generate music remixes and remasters. And I don't want anyone getting the wrong idea about my channel here, because for a time this channel was posting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It was posting pretty frequently. It was old archival material from the last 20 years or whatever, but it was posting pretty regularly. So one of the things I've been meaning to do for a while now, I've toyed with it on and off over the years, was doing a live stream where I mess around with some MIDIs in real time and just see what shakes out. But I've been a little too self-conscious to do that because I've never been entirely sure how interested people are in that kind of stuff. Because even though I like messing around with MIDI files, it's never been like my primary focus. It's never been like something that people care too much about besides me. Like, I get a little bit of success here and there, but it's not like my other creative pursuits, right? So I've never really been sure if the live stream was a good idea or not. But just to demonstrate, for the sake of the channel, to show people that, like, I actually do put some amount of work into this, I figured we'd do one here live on recording so that people could just see my process. And like I was saying earlier, like these are just MIDI files. It's really like I do work hard on these. It does take me a while, but it's not like I'm composing my own songs. The closest I've ever come, I took like 1 semester of band in middle school. I played a little bit of trumpet. And then in high school, during like a vocational class that I was in, that's kind of the long story why I was in a vocational class. I messed around with a little bit of like Noteworthy Composer and like Mixman, which is like a DJing software. And that, like, Mixman is really what got me started on the whole, like, recording MIDIs. And, like, Noteworthy, too. Noteworthy is a MIDI editing program, kind of like before the days of Ableton. It was like, you know, Noteworthy, Cakewalk, those were the MIDI editing software of the era, let's say. But I never really learned how to compose my own music, never really learned how to sequence my own music. So actually what I could do, well, like, I don't think I could do that. I was going to load up vgmusic.com. I technically could still do that. But I used to just go on like the newly submitted files, which is currently down. They've been reworking the database code for like 4 years, 5 years. But there used to just be like a whole list of like brand new MIDIs here. And we can still go into the archive and we can still find, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of MIDIs from different video games. And, you know, you think about retro games, they sound a little crusty. They sound a little bit old and scuffed. But I've obviously saved a significant number of MIDI files. So we're just going to go into my library here and we're going to pick something. We're actually going to do something easy because these can... Sometimes, like, I will spend a long time on a MIDI and it doesn't turn out properly. So we'll just do something easy. What's easy? Sonic Rebel Blast 2, Rise of the Triad. We can just do a Doom MIDI, why not? Right? I think these are Duke Nukem 3D. I don't like, I could sit here and just search forever. Because I think I have like 10,000 MIDIs saved. Here, we'll do something I've done like a million different versions of. We'll use Corion's Botanic Bass. I think I'm saying Corion right. I don't know. But here we have like the MIDI and it imports into the Fruity LSD, which is it hooks into the Windows MIDI, general MIDI driver, I guess you'd say, and it just, you know, it sounds like a MIDI. And it doesn't sound bad like that, you know, but it sounds like a MIDI. It sounds like this Roland General MIDI sound set that Windows comes with. And generally speaking, why my mouse isn't being captured correctly all the time. Anyway, generally what I do is like I go in here and you can see all the tracks for all the different instruments. We have the melody, we have the bass, organ, sawtooth, square wave, electric piano, drums, chords, etc. Usually I start with the drums, and this changes depending on my mood. I have a few different sound... Okay, I'm actually getting ahead of myself. Usually I use sound fonts. FL Studio also has plugins for like choir and, you know, drum kits and things like that. I find that when I'm working with MIDIs, it's easier just to stick to sound fonts. You can tell I have a pretty large library of sound fonts here. It's getting larger all the time. Like, I tripled it like just a few months ago. Because you can find like a lot of sound fonts on, say, the Internet Archive, right? You can find, there's whole websites out there for sound fonts. So to get back to where I was, normally we start with drums. Usually I use Music Theoria down here. That has pretty good drums. Lately I've been switching to this high quality orchestral sound font because it has nice and crispy drums. We got to go over here. We've got to change the patch. Come down here to percussive. I should have seen what channel it was on, because when it comes to MIDI files, here, we'll just re-import this. We're like, what, Botanic Base? We'll just re-import this. Because I think it's the patch, actually. The patch will determine what type of drums we have. Because if I scroll down here on the patch selector, you'll notice we have standard drums, room drums, power drums, electronic, and then various different like sound effects and whatever. We'll just do standard for now. We'll isolate the channel. And that sounds pretty good on its own. But something Senasu taught me how to do, and I still do to this day. Come over here. First, we put this on FX channel 10. We do a little overdrive. We throw a compressor on it. I don't know if I like that, actually. The problem I always have is that also makes, like, the cymbals and the hi-hats and everything, it makes them, like, a little too crispy. Here, let's try Musica Theoria. What does that sound like? Yeah, that's pretty good. I kind of like that. We'll stick with Musica Theoria for now. But back to like cymbals and hi-hats being a little too crispy, what I like to do, we create another sound font channel here. And generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, because we're in the piano roll now for this drum track, the black keys are usually the cymbals, and the white keys are usually the drums. Right? So what I do is I create a clone of the drum track, and now I separate out the cymbals and the drums. So we're on Musica Theoria. I want to get rid of all the cymbals. We just go through here and we select all the black keys. So that all we have is like snares and kicks and things like that. We come up here and now we do the opposite. We get rid of all the white keys. So now they're all separated, and we're actually going to put the high quality orchestral on here. Now you see we have cymbals and drums separate. And this will allow me to adjust the volume of the cymbals separately. Right? Which means I can also do things like throw a low pass filter on these guys. But that can kind of sound like it sounds a little bit muffled. And like this is like the most gentle low pass preset I usually use. We could crush it down even more, but that sounds really bad. So now I'm going to expose like my weird backwards way of doing this kind of stuff. Usually I just turn the knob down. Give us a little bit of that crispiness back. Now we've got drums. The drums are still a little strong, so let's turn them down just a hair. Ooh. Bongos. Anyway, that's our drums. That's where we start. So now we've got the melody, and this is like a vibraphone. This is like the dun 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 dun, you know, that kind of thing. Again, like my workhorse here is Musica Theoria, so we're just gonna drop Musica Theoria in here. That's electric piano. Is this the echo? This is the echo. I'm gonna hold off on doing the echo because usually I like to do echoes via a plugin. There's a delay plugin that works really well, but we'll do Probably should have done the organs first. This is a little loud. Look at this volume level up here. I think this is going to be one of those things where I gotta turn everything down by 25%. We'll put you on channel 2, because channel 1 is where our LSD lives, which again is down here. It's our MIDI driver plugin. So I usually like to start with 2 for like basic instruments like this. Do I want to put a compressor on it? Multi-band compressor is nice, but it messes with the EQ a little bit. So I like to do just the basic compressor sometimes, because that seems to work pretty good. We'll just leave it on default settings for now. Oh, we need to enable the channel. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's basic. Let's do the echo now. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an FX chain. Come over here, we'll do delay. We'll do multiple layers of delays. You'll see like I have like presets I've made. We have a Capcom echo, which is, I call it a Capcom echo because it kind of reminds me of Mega Man X. It's like a very tight, very narrow delay, like that. It's very Super Nintendo, but I have like another Super Nintendo delay in here that I like to use as well, which has like a longer tail on it. But it's also like, it's like very gentle, like it's, and that ping pongs back and forth too. Let's turn that down a little bit. Maybe we need like a different kind of delay. Instead of the Super Nintendo delay, what do we got? Double up, maybe? We're gonna have to really turn double up down, because it... maybe not. Maybe that's good. I'll leave that the way it is for now. Let's do the organs next. This is like percussive organ, so this is... Percussive organ is like it's almost like a church organ, but not quite. Huh? Oh, we're muted. Like, it's not a church organ. I think it's a church organ because I think of like the Blues Brothers, right? I think of like, what's his name? Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Who plays the pastor in Blues Brothers? He's like a famous guy. I'm picturing his face in my head. I can't remember his name. For some reason I can only think of Ray Charles, but he's later in the movie. He's not the pastor. Oh, I'm gonna kick myself for not knowing who that guy... Oh, it just flashed in my head and it disappeared. James Brown. Gosh. Of course it's James Brown. Organs. How about we try the... Yeah, see, I'm using my mouse wheel over here in the sound font list. It's controlling this. I feel like that didn't used to happen. Let's try something else. Just like this is gonna be a lot of it is just me like trying things. That's kind of where all the work comes from. Is just trying different things. Instead of using a theory, well, if we use the SC55, that's gonna be the closest to the MIDI driver, and I don't want to do that. I want something that sounds a little bit different. Here, this is another workhorse of mine. What patch? 18? This is going to be really loud. Because Fluid R3 is loud by default. I'm going to turn this down to like 40%. Because this always comes out sizzling. I don't like the way that sounds. What's this sound like? That's a little better. This is still really sharp. How do we put a low-pass filter on this? That's a little better. How about a limiter, too? Where's the limiter? I never know. Limiter. Limiter, but I just met her. Oh, that's a lot better. Probably get rid of the low-pass filter, honestly. How do we feel about this organ? What other options do we have? A detuned organ, rock organ, church organ, reed organ, drawbar organ. Would a drawbar organ be okay? That's like the Sonic Advance organ. I don't know. We'll try a rockin'. What does rockin' give us? That is the complete wrong channel. What am I doing? It's up here. That also just sounds like a drawbar organ. I kind of like that, actually. How about you do the bass next here? Well, let's isolate the tracks we've replaced. I like that nice thick bass. And usually, like, fluid is really good for bass. So we were on 39. Watch how loud this is. It overpowers everything. Okay, so we'll put you on 4, because 3 is our reverb. Or our delay plugin, rather. Turn you down to about 40%, like usual. Probably turn you up, because you're not on fluid anymore. We'll turn you up to 65. Oh, because I don't have 4 anymore. Do you not have channels? You don't have channels. I'll put you on 5. So usually when I have, synth bass like this, like, maybe this is just like a signature thing to me. I kind of like putting a flange on it. So we get this kind of like, yeah, listen to that. I like that. I mean, we could just do this. This is just the song. But we need the melody. Electric piano. Electric piano. The Synphon, does that have a good electric piano? I feel like it might. Bright piano, harpsichord, it does not. I know I have a good... I mean, maybe we'll just try one of these. Like, Jumbox down here is also a Roland clone. I have a bunch of Roland clones. Because each of them, like I said, they're based... The Windows MIDI driver is based on the SC55. But it's not exact. So, like, I have all these variants of the Roland SC55, and they're all slightly different. Most of these were used for, like, Doom mods and things like that. I think I've had trouble with Jumbox before. I'm a little afraid of it. Because some of these, like, really push the memory limit. Up here you can see like the active memory usage. We're at like 1.5 gigabytes right now. Fingers crossed. Here, actually, we'll just do for the video, just in case FL Studio crashes. Because you can see, look how long this is going to take to load. If it loads, okay, it loaded, good. Electric Grand. We'll put this on 2 because it's echoey. I don't think that's the right sound. It has to be this kind of... It's almost like a Roland piano, right? Or do we have a Roland on here? I don't think we do. I should look for my Roland, because I have one of these as a Roland in it. That's really nice. That's kind of like a Roland. I've never heard this like this before. That's interesting. We'll put a pin in this and come back to it later. I want to... What's my standard Roland to sound like? Do I have a Roland in here somewhere? Oh, it's not a... It's a Rhodes, not a Roland. What am I talking about? I do like the way that sounds better. It's smoother. It's cooler. It's almost jazzy, right? Or like lounge, right? Yeah, I'm leaving it like the classic style. So what's this sawtooth doing? It goes under the Rhodes. Wonder if I can make that like a bass, like a picked bass. It's a little too bright for that. I kind of like that. That doesn't have like a delay on it, right? No, that's the only channel it has. The only track, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that. Maybe we'll put it on its own channel over here. Give it a little bit of a delay. Double it up. Even though I know it doesn't have one, but that might sound pretty good. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's good. What's our square wave doing? This is just like an added kind of chorus kind of thing, right? On its own, it sounds kind of gross. get it in with the rest of the instruments, it's okay. Yeah, this is, of course, super loud. Delete 55. Maybe we'll just leave it as a square wave. And my go-to for a square wave is Setzer's SPC sound font. This is a collection of Super Nintendo instruments, but it also has this really nice, like, almost like NES sounding square wave that I absolutely adore. I've been, like, Setzer's was the first sound font I ever downloaded, ever, anywhere. And sort of like with the bass, I like to slap a flanger on it, turn it down to about 50%. Whoops. Yeah, listen to that. That's good. That sounds really good. I like that. That's a go-to for me. I'm going to get rid of these echo channels because we don't need them anymore. Echo tracks. Doesn't really matter. Okay, clarinet and electric piano. This again goes under the Rhodes. So, what did I try? I tried Jumbox. We'll try Jumbox again. Electric piano 1. Whoops, no, I don't want to record anything. Misclicked. Off. Not the pattern. Well, I want the pattern. I don't want the song channels. Setzer, you're being kind of loud, my boy. How about we slap a limiter on you, my boy? I think this can probably be juiced a little bit because it's kind of low. What does this sound like in isolation? Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to put a little bit of a limiter on you as well. That's sounding pretty good. I like that. Okay, so now we need to figure out the clarinet. We'll go... Do we want to do orchestral? The problem with orchestral is that a lot of the woodwinds have like noise on them. Like there'll be like this hiss sound. Where's clarinet? It's like down here. Yeah, clarinet. Yeah, you hear it? That tss, tss, tss. It's terrible. And like I emailed the guy who created this sound font. It's like, can you fix this? And he was like, fix it yourself. Download a sound font editing program and figure out where the sound's coming from and just trim it out. I was like, thanks, dude. So we're gonna do a little Garriton personal orchestra. I know this is among some of people I know who do sound editing. Personal orchestra is a little contentious, and this is, again, a super old version that I've just been using forever. We'll take one of their clarinets. We don't want an ensemble, we'll do a solo. I don't know the difference between BB clarinet and EB clarinet. We'll do a BB clarinet. Physical memory is getting low. Yes, it's because you're a super old piece of software. We'll crank the mod up. And we will put you on channel 9. We're getting close to 10 here, but that's okay. Isolate channel 9. Where's our volume? There's our volume. That's it? I guess that's all we really need. Let me put a flangus on it. And we do the same thing we do with everything else. I don't know if that works. But you can barely tell it's even being applied. Maybe a little bit of Capcom delay? Again, that sounds weird. I think it sounds too real because it's an orchestra clarinet. It's not really what I want. Is it? Try one of these FM synthesis ones. I shouldn't do the fat OPL2 because the fat OPL2 one is weird. Oh no, this is the one I want actually. It's the other one that's weird. I have a different one in here. OPL3. Look at this. It's just numbers. It doesn't tell me what these instruments are. So I have to go into another sound font, like the OPL2. We'll just try clarinet, and then I go in here and I drag the OPL3 onto it, and now that's clarinet. I hate it when I do that. I'll be like listening for a specific instrument, and I'll pick the part right before it cuts off. You know what would probably help this a lot? We'll go into the reverb here, and we'll destroy the dry. So wet reverb only. So it kind of sounds like it's in another room and it's echoing from far away. Okay, so that sounds all right. I'll leave it there for now. We can always come back and tweak it later. What is this? I don't remember what this is. All right, this. This is starting to sound pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know about this reverb. I'll put it like 85%. Why not? Because when I stopped the song just now and I heard it continue to reverb after the notes stopped playing, it sounded a little harsh, I guess. I don't know. So these are just electric pianos, huh? I feel like I could make these into a guitar and it would sound pretty okay. But I might just leave them as an electric piano. And I I like this electric piano sound a little bit. So let's try one of these alternate SC55 guys. We got what, patch 6. It's a little sharp. Look how sharp that is. I don't like how hollow that is. Ooh, that has like an extra chord on it. That's kind of weird. Jumbox, what do you say? Yeah, I like that. I like Jumbox. Jumbox is good. Patch 6. I should actually be doing is just patch 6. Wait, what are you doing? Why are you putting a whole new channel there? Drag onto the cord. Thank you. I'm just going to do it this way. It's easier. That's kind of that's kind of harsh. I wonder if we could do like what is a nyctophobia organ? That's interesting. Marimba? No. Could we put like a low pass filter on it? What does that sound like? Maybe. And I want to stress, like, I'm kind of breezing through this really fast because this is a MIDI that I've made an MP3 from multiple times. I've remastered this song over and over and over and over again. I kind of know the way I like it to sound. I don't like the long tail it has. It holds that note for a really long time. And that's the way it's just built in. Feels like I want like the note to like fade out over the course of being played. I don't this hold where like it holds the note for so long. Look at that. Now this is where I get a little lost in the weeds. This is something I don't entirely know how to do. I feel like there's probably a setting in here where I can fix that. There's all these knobs in here. Well, this is like for delay. I don't want to do a delay. I don't want to do arpeggio. Could I turn down the gate? I could turn down the gate. But it just cuts off. It doesn't like fade out the way I want it to. Almost kind of just like it like that, where like the first one has the gate on it and the rest don't. Maybe like we alternate? No. And like what are these? I don't know what these are. Despite having used FL Studio for 15 or 20 years now, there's a lot of dials on here I don't know what they do. It's like some kind of volume tracking setting. What does that do? Middle value? What is middle? I really shouldn't mess with it because that looked like it was changing keys. Panning, filter. I think this might go to like a different plugin. Like, I shouldn't mess with that. What does the time shift do? I should just leave the gate cranked. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It just sounds so harsh. Maybe we'll leave it at like 4 seconds? That sound? How does that sound? That's like the maximum length without just turning it off. You know what? I'm gonna call that okay. I'm gonna say that that's normal. What we can also do is we can just put a little bit of reverb under it. Like I said, that kind of other room kind of reverb. We can turn that down a little bit. Okay, that's all the tracks replaced. Oh, what? I shouldn't do a hi-hat on here, or a low pass filter is what I meant to say. I should do a limiter. Ooh. That sounds like garbage. I don't like that. Maybe we'll just go to an old standby, huh? How do you sound doing this? Oops. Because now we're entering like the phase of this where I nitpick over like equalization and specific instruments, whether they mesh well or not. I level the volumes. It's the actual like mastering work that goes into this. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. That's disgusting. Don't like that one bit. I think this is what I use in my typical version. Ooh. Do I even use an electric piano? That's disgusting. Do I just use the Rhodes? I bet I just use the Rhodes. Because that being the electric piano is nasty. It's disgusting. It's foul. It's also too loud, but... I also still have the reverb on. So that sounds okay, but what if we cloned the track, and what if we put a little bit more of that electric piano stank back in it? Jumbox, come here. Give me electric piano 2. Copy. Paste. Do we have like specific pitch or panning settings I need to copy? There is a track here. So cloning tracks like this is a big pain in the ass. I would really like it if when I did clone track in FL Studio that it just cloned everything so that I didn't have to come through here and individually copy these settings out one by one, especially because we're going to have to do this for 4 tracks. I don't think any of these necessarily change, so I think I could get away with it. Not copying everything except for the notes. We'll try it. We'll see what happens. We're just going to put a little bit of electric piano 2 in here. How about? Just underneath the Rhodes piano. Just so that you get like a hint of it. So now we're still on channel 12. Now I'm going to go through here, put you on channel 14, channel 14, channel 14, channel 14. That's the sauce. I like that. We could even come in here and mess around with the gate settings, right? So that the long tail is on the Rhodes, but the short tail is on the electric piano. Did I mess up? Maybe the final one needs to be the long tail. Yeah, the final one needs to be the long tail. That comes off sounding pretty loud, though, I'll give you that. We take 14 and we put it on 13 so that it gets a little bit of that reverb. Maybe you need like a limiter on you, buddy. How's that grab you? I don't know if you need a limiter or not. Generally speaking, I think I've already turned down the drums though, right? They look pretty down. You feel like you need something. You feel too dry. Well, see, then I hear you like this and you sound fine. maybe I shouldn't be picky. In fact, for the purposes of this video, because like normally when I enter this state, I could sit here for hours, equalizing tracks and channels and nitpicking over different instruments and, you know, things like that. Normally when I'm wrapping things up and I'm getting ready to finish up the song, one of the things I like to do, come down here to the Sound Goodizer, which is just a knob that tweaks bass and treble, and there's different modes on it. You can see it sounds pretty thick now. I like to give it just a little bit. And then I will put just a regular compressor on it. I think I just leave it default. I don't think I need the compressor. It's been a while since I've been doing these midis. A lot of the time, I only do these kind of things when like I'm in a good mood. I've been in kind of a long stretch of being in a bad mood for various reasons. So every single step of my process isn't necessarily clear to me. Usually, like the final step is just me applying like EQ presets and leveling the volume. So here's Ozone 8. This is a plugin I've actually paid for. Well, technically I paid for it. It was free. And I just come in here to all-purpose mastering. Usually I do tight and punchy, but lately I've been doing Modern Master, which applies a whole suite of different settings. And that goes on top of Sound Goodizer. That really makes the stereo separation go wild. I think you need to be limited a little bit more. Feel a little loud. Maybe I will put a limiter. Oh no. Limiter's like crush volume, right? Maybe I'll do a limiter. That still sounds like a little spicy. But I don't want to like go too nuts. Because I want it to be audible, but I don't want it to be overpowering, is the problem. Also not really sure this gate is working out here either. It's that hard cutoff. I don't like the hard cutoff. But the only other way to do that is to go into the piano roll. Or specifically, I would have to go into the volume piano roll and like set the volume of each individual note. Like paint the volume like so. On each individual note, I would have to do that. And that's not impossible. I mean, that's just kind of the process sometimes. But it is slow and annoying. So like I would set here, so I know where that is. Is is this correct? Why is that suddenly set? Oh, because that's right. I set this for this specific track. So we start here. Actually, where does it end? Where does that note end? That note ends, we'll say halfway through 36. We'll say 4 bars after the dark line. Right, so there's the dark line. 4 bars after that. Or four notes, we'll say. Usually probably like right around here. And then it should shoot back up to 100%. Or whatever this is currently on. It's like 93. But then I have to do that for every single note in the entire thing. And I have to do that for all 4 channels. And that's a lot. That's a really lot. But like I said, sometimes that's just the process of it. But it would be nice if there was like a way to automate that. What does full porta mean? I've never understood that either. I don't think the arpeggio time means anything to me in this sense. Yeah, no. I don't know what that means. I don't know what portamenta means either. I know what polyphony means. That's how many instruments can play at the same time. Do I cut it? Cut which group by which group? That doesn't mean... I don't know what that means either. Filter cut offset. What does that do? Is that what I want? I don't think that's what I want. That, yeah, again, I don't know what some of these knobs do. Because I'm a baby. I just tinker with stuff. And there are so many knobs and things, like I end up forgetting what some of these things do. And that's like, I think this is for tuning. Like, that's what this is down here. I don't know, man. I am not a professional at this. This is just like a hobby I tinker with. I apologize if you hear kids in the background. It is about 6:30 p.m., which means that everybody in my apartment goes outside and plays around in the courtyard, which is right outside my window. And even though my window is closed, kids like to yell. I guess that's okay. It is a little on the loud side, though. But for the purposes of this demonstration, like I was trying to say earlier, some of these, this one's going quick because I know what I'm doing. I've done this song like 5 or 6 times now, over the years. Some of these will take me, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week of just kind of like trying out different instruments, trying out different equalizer presets, tweaking knobs like 2%, trying to get everything dialed in and sounding nice. It's a lot of like, I call it surgery, which is what I was going to do down here, which is, applying volume settings, panning settings, like on a per note basis. Some of these get pretty complex. Let's see if I can open one that I've done before. Notice there's a lot of Doom in here, a lot of Final Fantasy. The T-Lopes one, I have 35 iterations of that. That took me forever because it's a very loud song. There's a million bazillion channels on this thing, or tracks, or whatever. And they all have to have their volume set a specific way. Panning has to be set a specific way. Otherwise, it overpowers the song. And look at all these plugins I'm using. I'm not a professional here. So it gets pretty messy. It gets pretty stacked. It gets pretty weird. As I just I try different things. Here, these have to have I don't know why. This old version of Garriton Personal Orchestra, I have to crank this mod slider all the way up for it to sound correct. I have to do that on every single personal orchestra track in the entire song. But this one took me forever to get right. Because look at the volume level up here. It is almost redlining. Well, it's over here too. This actually looks okay. Well, it's over here. It took me a long time to get this crunched down to where it wasn't blowing things out and being too loud. And this is probably 3 times as many tracks as the original MIDI had. This was a MIDI T-Lopes posted 3 years ago, I think it was. It was here's a song I did. Here's the original MIDI I made for it. Have at it. Try it out yourself. And I ended up doing this. But yeah, I just wanted to walk through the process I do on these. And I just said, some of these get pretty complex. That Strive for Glory from Windows 3.1 had a lot of iterations. Great Warrior from Final Fantasy VII had 41. A lot of Bubsy ones down here. I actually lost a lot of my project files a few years ago. I had a hard drive crash, and this is just what I was able to recover. I'm actually surprised the Sonic Time Attack ones are in here. That's actually good to know. Good to have those. Gravity Beetle, etc. You get the idea. I'm just kind of wasting time right now. Just going through all these. Gold Saucer was one that took me forever to get right too, because I very specifically wanted a Disneyland Electric Light Parade kind of sound, which is harder to approximate than you'd think. So you can see I have just a million clone tracks in here to get this kind of Electric Light Parade synthetic sort of sound. If you don't know what the Electric Light Parade is, I don't know if Disneyland still does it or not. It was something they did nightly. All these parade floats that were just basically covered in very bright Christmas lights, and they would dance around, and it would play this very synthy kind of fun song along with them. They actually sold vinyl albums of that song. It was so popular. My mom used to have one, actually. I got rid of all her vinyls many years ago, so I don't know what happened to that. Okay, I'm going to stop the previous recording there. I'm going to insert this somewhere towards the end of the first recording session. It's obviously been... I don't know, you probably can't really tell because the NVIDIA recording icon is covering this up down here. It's been a little over 24 hours. It's pretty late at night, which is why I'm kind of whispering right now. because my roommate is asleep and I'm trying not to make too much noise, but I wanted to append something onto the end of the current video that I was recording, because the original ending, I kind of ramble a little bit and I don't really go anywhere interesting. But like I think I said previously, depending on where I cut the previous recording session, I tend to, kind of like ruminate on these songs for a while. Like I can spend hours like tweaking knobs and values and things like that. The last time you heard the song, it sounded, I think, loading its state. That's new. Hang on, we're gonna have to. Never had that happen before. I think that's Jumbox. I think that's a problem with Jumbox. So we'll close that. You can probably get a chance to see my. No, you're just gonna fully freeze. Okay, great. Okay, we're back in FL Studio. Let's try loading that again. This is going to be the version of the song that you all heard in the previous video, just as like a point of comparison of what it sounds like, or what it sounded like to you. Like that sounds okay. That sounds fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But I've spent the last day and a half doing all those tweaking of values and, adding and subtracting effects and trying different sound fonts. And I got the song into a slightly different state just to give you an example of like what that final like fine-tooth comb polishing pass sounds like after I'm done. And maybe FL Studio is going to crash again, so I'm just gonna exit out and reload FL Studio with the song loaded from the 9 file. Because again, like the Jumbox sound font is huge and it causes problems with FL Studio. So this is what the song looks like now, and you can see it's a little bit bigger now. I've doubled up on some of the tracks here to give the song kind of more of a robust sound. Basically what I did is I doubled up this up here. This is the music box, and this, I think this was, maybe this was a Rhodes piano. No, this was it was the vibraphone originally. I think it was. Yeah, it's always been a vibraphone. But I doubled that up because I like the kind of twinkly sound in the music box, so I put one of those up here, but it's super quiet. You almost can't hear it. It's one of those things that's like very much in the background. This was the Rhodes piano originally. I put in a little bit of a jazz guitar, so now it's got a little bit more of like that guitar twang to it that I really like. We had the synth bass that I really, really liked, but I felt like it needed something a little bit more underneath it, something to, like fill out, because it was a little too heavy on the lower register. It didn't have enough of the right kind of meat that I wanted, so I put a fretless bass in here for just like a little bit of like, I hate using food terminology because that feels like that's all I use, but it kind of gives you like that more robust flavor, I guess. And then I doubled up the organ down here because we just had the rock organ, which just kind of sounds like a drawbar organ to me, so I gave it a little bit of setzers because it's supposed to be like a percussive organ. You can tell it's a little bit quiet. That's on purpose. It's two different sounds that kind of mingled together to create one new sound. I do this a lot. And then drums down here. I added another, like, the layer for snares and kicks and stuff like that. I added another layer for that. So we've got the HQ orchestral on top of the original Musica Theoria. And that just kind of gives us our whole, it fills out the sound a little bit, and it makes the song sound a little more complete, a little more robust, I think. I mean, I don't know. Again, I keep saying this over and over and over again. I'm not a professional music guy. I don't really, I don't do this for a living. This has just been like a hobby of mine for the last 20 years. And this is just all like random little stuff that I've picked up on over the years. I mean, again, depending on where I cut this, you might have seen me like struggle with this part specifically. Where this note was holding for too long and I couldn't figure out how to get it to not hold for so long because that didn't sound right to me. It was kind of creating too much noise as all the notes really like stacked up. And I found this slider, like I knew about this slider before. I should probably move this over here so I don't, because one thing in the video is like I constantly have to keep shifting back and forth. But this slider right here is called sustain. You can see there in the upper right. That changes how long the note can be held for. So what I've done here is I've literally set the sustain as low as it can possibly go, and it's still too long. But you can hear it does eventually fade out. That is like the maximum shortness that note can be. So what I ended up actually doing was going in here and just shortening all the notes. You do a select all, you come over here to tools, and it's articulate. And you can see like it automatically shortens it because of the multiply settings I've put on here. But I still leave the final note as the original like full length note. Because I feel like it needs that in order to feel correct to me. But all the other notes are shorter. I don't remember if I did this in the previous edit, but I did. Jumbox, are you broken? I think Jumbox is broken. Yeah, I think Jumbox is broken. I don't think I should be using Jumbox anymore. I don't think it likes FL Studio. I'm gonna have to replace this. I don't know with what. Suppose we could look right now. What is UHD3? What does this do? What does this sound like? Unison HD, huh? That sounds a little too crystally for me. Maybe that's alright, though. What does it sound like in the rest of the song? No, I don't like that. What if we just also make you a Rhodes? Yeah, I guess that's fine. Excuse me. I had a hiccup there for a minute. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys like a chance to hear like how much, like, because I didn't want this video to go on super long, as I did like all the real like picky mastering work to like I said, like tweaking volume values, like, because I don't just take these presets wholesale all the time. I do actually go in and like the preset is just where I start from, and then I tweak knobs and I find out what works best for me. It was kind of like with this the bass, where I got the kind of guitar-y sound, right? That's down here. This is hardcore. This is an amp plugin that simulates having a guitar amp, and there's a bunch of different settings in here for different things. I have it on the 80s lead. Is it supposed to be on 80s lead? I don't think it is. I think I had it on something else. Because there, like I said, there's a bunch of different settings in here. Yeah, no, that's not right either. Huh. I think Jumbox messed a lot of stuff up. I don't even remember what this was on. And this is basically what I was doing. I think it was on this. Hopefully that saves properly. I might have to just consider this file a wash. But yeah, like I said, I just didn't want to sit here and like have like a 2-hour video where the first hour is me just, finding all the instruments that I like, and then the second hour is me just like tweaking things by like 2 or 3 or 5%, trying to figure out what sounds best for that MP3. One thing that I think I'm going to be cutting out of the original ending is I wanted to go through and show like some of my failures, or like show how complex some of this actually gets. Like here, I think this is a failure. I don't think I ever posted the Underground Zone remix anywhere, did I? I don't remember. Maybe I did. I feel like I'm remembering I did. But we'll listen to it and you'll see how different it looks comparatively. Oh, no, we can't do this on... It's missing a file. This file doesn't exist anymore. Though maybe it does. There it is. Yeah, I don't remember if I ever posted this anywhere. Ooh. I'm not a fan of this. Well, this part's alright. I don't like the brass here though, the trumpets. Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. I don't think I've, like, again, that's like a failure. I don't think I ever really posted anywhere. This is one of my failures. Because I have a lot of trouble getting, like, electric guitar to sound correct. Like heavy metal guitar, basically. Like, this doesn't sound the way I want it to sound. Yeah, like, again, it's one of those things where, like, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound the way that I want it to sound. And look how many iterations there was of Great Warrior. 41 iterations. And if I remember right, this is a pretty simple song. But it took me a really, really, really long time. I think specifically on, like, the drums and the guitar. Again, it's the guitar that I struggle with so much. Agents, what? I don't have that file anymore. That must have been one of the sound fonts I lost in my hard drive crash. I need to, like, write that down so that I have it again. Should be marked in red, shouldn't it? Is it even... Why are you saying it's missing if it's not actually... Oh, it's right here. Huh, so we can't... I don't think we can really listen to this. And get an idea of what it actually sounds like. Okay, yeah, it's like harps and stuff that... So I need to figure out where that Aegean symphony comes from. I think that was like a... Might have been like a Woodwinds sound font? But yeah, like getting that to sound as good as it does took me a long time and a lot of experimentation. Some of these are just really old. But yeah, like I was saying before in the other version of this video, or I think even earlier in the video, I mentioned that I thought about doing like a live stream, like where I take requests and things like that. I'm still here's actually, not to interrupt myself. Here's one that I threw away. Like, this was terrible. I remember this one. This is the Rug Ride song from Aladdin for the Sega Genesis. And I wanted it to be like this big, epic orchestral version of it. And I just couldn't get it to sound right. So I have like a zillion Garriton personal orchestras on here, because these are all horn sections. And just, look how it's clipping. Horn sections are something I really struggle with a lot too. Getting the right, like, sizzle to the horns is a big struggle of mine. But not to, like, draw this outro out like I did the one that I'm deleting, but if anyone out there like wants me to do a live stream where I do more of this stuff like live and you watch my process, I'm willing to do that, but you really got to convince me, because I don't know, I've never really had like tons of success with this kind of stuff. It's one of those things where like I enjoy doing it for me. It's kind of relaxing. Again, I said this maybe earlier. It's something that like really depends on my mood. Usually I only tinker around with other people's midis when I'm in the mood for it. And lately I just haven't been in the mood due to a lot of different circumstances in my life. It's been a weird time for me these last 3 or 4 years, let's say. And I just haven't been in the mood for certain creative outputs. Oh, that's pretty funny. I think I just really slowed down the tempo here and tried to make it sound creepy. This is more like me experimenting a little bit, because I think these drums are like something I put in here. Maybe even this, I don't remember. But, you know, I've thought about doing like a live request live stream for these for like years, and part of it's been mood. I don't want to like put myself out there because I am kind of a little bit ashamed of some of this. A lot of these midis are not mine. I'm just kind of taking someone else's work and kind of creating a cover of that work, right? And I never know if people genuinely like that or not. I like it. You know? I wouldn't have been doing this for 20 years if I didn't like it. So if you want to see more of like process videos like this, if you want to see like a process live stream, convince me down in the comments and we'll see what happens. If not, then that's okay. I wanted to make this video to prove that, you know, I don't use AI for this stuff. It's probably not as much work as like composing or sequencing these songs by hand, but it is some amount of work. It takes me, you know, hours, days, sometimes weeks. Some of these have taken me up to a month just for one song. And that's all I really wanted to prove. Ooh. I don't like the way these drums sound. Those drums are like really in your face. That's what, power drums? And like you can tell like why I tend to like re-render songs over and over and over and over again, because over the years, like as my skills grow and as I go back and I listen to older songs, that's like, well, I could do a new rendition of that sounds a lot better now. It's kind of like drawing, you know. And since it's somebody else's midis, I can just load the same MIDI up again and again and again and again and use all my new toys, use all my new skills, and just make a better version of the song. Like now I want to redo this one because I don't like the way these drums sound. I think I could do better drums now. Like even just this. Those are still really like close-up drums, wow. I remember I had trouble getting this next part. Kind of like ramp up in the synth was hard to get because sometimes when you import MIDIs, like pitch changes like that don't import correctly, so I had to actually like go in and modify the pitch, this part, so that like it properly climbs the way it's supposed to. And even then you can kind of tell like there's a limit to how that climbs. Like it's, oh well, actually it goes all the way up. Never mind. But that's it. Like I've proved my point. I just wanted to show my process, or at least part of my process again. I kind of skipped over parts of it. But it's very late. This has been like another 30 minutes on the end of this video. You heard what the newer, better version is. I'll probably put up an MP3 of that soon. I should get back to posting MP3s on the channel again soon. Transferring more of my archive over to YouTube, because there's probably still like 4 or 5 albums that have yet to go up on YouTube. A lot of them are like the more modern ones that like have like only like 3 tracks in them, so it would go pretty quickly. I just haven't really been in the mood to like, due to certain circumstances in my life, but we're not going to talk about that now. If you made it all the way into the end, like, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, because like I said, some of this music stuff, I feel kind of awkward about it, even though I enjoy doing it for myself. There's always been this thought in the back of my head about whether or not people enjoy this kind of stuff or not, or whether I'm only doing it for myself. So if you're listening to this, thank you a great deal, and I'll see you when I see you. You can always just check my Bandcamp if you want like the newest and greatest and latest releases. See you then.